Hello and welcome back to the Argyle Digital Marketing Forum. I am Vicki Lynn Brunskill with the Argyle Group, and I just have a couple of notes before I turn things over to our wonderful presenter for this session. First, a quick reminder to stop by our sponsor's virtual booth at any time during today's event for the following week. Sponsor booths are accessible from the main agenda page for the event. Also, to ask questions throughout this session, simply click on the Q&A icon at the bottom of the screen. And now I am thrilled to introduce Valerie Beaulieu, Chief Marketing Officer at Microsoft. We are pleased to have Valerie with us for her thought leadership presentation titled Marketing Digital Transformation, a Story from the Front Line. Welcome, Valerie, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Vicki Lynn. And let me start maybe with just a few words about me. So as Vicki Lynn was saying, I am the CMO of the Microsoft B2B business in the US. I have 30 years experience of sales and marketing, mostly in the tech industry. And I've lived and worked across 3 continents, Europe, and you can hear my accent. I'm French, and my name can tell so much. I live in Asia, and I've been a while in the US now. And one fun fact before I start, I started my career as a journalist, which probably explains my endless curiosity. But enough about me. I was already convinced that CMO was probably the most exciting and at the same time toughest job we can find in the enterprise world. And I think the last few weeks have just confirmed it. And I'm sure you have a similar experience, and I will be delighted to share more when we have the time. In this very ambiguous time, to say the least, as CMO, we certainly at the front line to both support the crisis for our companies, while at the same time we need to prepare for what comes next and being ready for the new normal. And we have a critical role to drive the transformation that's required to adjust. And that's what I would like to share in the next 20 minutes. It's my learnings and observation as we drive that transformation and land it in Microsoft US, and how we navigate those uncharted territories in this crisis. And I hope you will find some inspiration in my little tale 3. And let me start with a few observations in terms of the key trends around our new reality. And I was lucky to talk to a number of you by phone, obviously, or by email. It looks like we have similar observations in terms of the key challenges. The first one is it's all about remote everything and how this becomes the new normal for something that is continuing to be the consumer-like experience. While you're at home, it doesn't matter if you are a B2B person, you have a convergence of your consumer expectations that are blending into your work life. Whether it is the seamless experience, whether it is to have everything at your fingertips on your phone, all this with an expectation that the company that is engaging you, will know how to engage at the right moment without disrupting your flow, knowing that you are, like me, a CMO and not addressing me with technical papers because I'm not a technical person. And all this while walking the fine line of protecting privacy and being the guardian of that compliance towards my private information. At the same time, we continue as CMOs to have the direct pressures, and I'm certainly there as well from my leadership team, but it can be coming directly from your boards, on how do we respond to the crisis. And I will talk about how we have to completely rejuggle our B2B activities from a good portion of in-person interaction to everything digital, but also making sure that we have at our fingertips all the signals, soft and hard signals, data about our customer behavior and how these behaviors are evolving, to make sure that we prepare the company to rebound and to reimagine how interaction will be in the future and what are the new opportunities for growth and lifetime value for our customers. And the last but not least, which I think all of you also shared with me when I talked to a number of you, is we have to manage our people and to put them at the center and to help them embrace the new reality. And in that moment where, again, digital becoming so prominent and making sure that we humanize the interaction through social media, we need to have people in our teams which are moving from being super strong program managers into really combining the art and the science of marketing. The art by delivering the right messaging, having the right creative to engage the conversation and to create memorable experience, and driving innovation on digital to get out of all the clutter now that everybody is in digital experience and virtual experience, while making the most of all the data insight that we are getting to make sure that we create this seamless experience that will feel like consumer-like, and making sure that you have people who are data savvy to transform all this influx of data into insights to drive that seamless customer journey that we need to really drive that proximity with our customers. At the same time, when you think about these three challenges and new trends, especially in this new world where everything has to be re-juggled in the new context with a lot of social distancing that you need to put through and introducing everything on the web, what we have to deliver, the three pillars of modern marketing, they don't change. We continue to have to drive reputation and share of voice for our company. And mind you, in these very unprecedented times, trust will really make the difference. And that's what we need to drive first and foremost for our brands, making sure that we develop not only the awareness, the perception, the differentiator with the competition, but more importantly, we develop that trust that will make our customers to stay the course with us and to entrust their future with us. The second big pillar, and I'm sure it's no news for you, I'm sorry, I'm very on the key pillars of what you're probably doing day in and day out, is all that relates to demand creation. And again, in this new context where customer expectations are changing also in the way they want to feel supported more than sold to, how do we make sure that we continue to acquire and nurture the leads that are needed for our sales, which is the last pillar, where we have that critical role to integrate all the marketing interaction and engagement that we're driving with our customers, and we drive them in the journey so that they are ready to engage with sales, repeat the sales, and really engage into that virtuous circle of lifetime value and growth. So probably this is no discovery for any of you. And I think what you are more eager to understand is how are we leading and embracing these trends at Microsoft? And the way we're thinking about it is really around three big pillars: culture, capability, and technology and tools. It could be technology and data. And let me unpack each of them. I am a firm believer, especially after the experience of these past couple of months, it's already a couple of months, believe it or not, that a strong culture will help you navigate crisis. And I really love about Microsoft, and for those of you who've checked my profile, I've been over 20 years at the company. What made me stay is really that very strong culture. And when Satya came on board 5 years ago, he had a very strong first move to make sure that we align the culture, not only from his leadership team, but including feedback through focus group from employees, customer, partners, to make sure that the reason why Microsoft exists in this world was clearly identified and explicitly called out. And that's how we went into this mission statement. But this is not just something that we put under all our collaterals. What I really love about what we've been doing in the past few years is making sure that we were making this culture real in all the level of the company, from the way we are developing products, the way we are engaging with customers, whether through marketing or sales, the way we are delivering support, the way we are defining our engagement with our partners to support our customers, and anchoring everything on that belief that we are shifting from the know-it-all to the learn-it-all and putting the growth mindset as the supporting anchor to that culture. And we went so far as to make it super real, to explicitly call out the attributes of that culture, which needs to be customer obsessed and customer first, which needs to be diverse and inclusive in the way we speak and in the way we interact with our employees and customers, and the way we're really putting the full power of our company to serve this customer obsession. And at the end of the day, and that's what I put under the picture, even if we are all working from home, is making sure that we are making a difference. And the reason I think it's a real asset for a company, especially in times of crisis, is that it enables you not only to be very true to your message, and as a marketing person, I know that I am 100% authentic with my message because I have the confidence that the entire company at all levels will serve along these principles. But when you have to react super quickly to the new context, and again, unprecedentedly so in the last few months as all the world has been impacted by COVID-19, in just a couple of weeks, we were able at Wawa level to completely rejuggle our campaign structure, to readjust our messaging, our narrative, our visual, and that's just a screen capture of our website. You can go check on it, where we really rejuggle, putting the customer at the center. With changing the messaging, we continue to be open for business, and really thinking through how do we rearrange our offers to make sure we stay true to that promise of being customer first, to look at what the customer are obsessed today and how we can support them, and making sure that we bring the entire power of Microsoft. And as you can tell here, there is zero mention of any products. And I think this is the strength of a very strong culture that enables you to walk super fast when you have to react to crisis. The second big pillar, you remember there were 3 pillars, remember it's my tale of 3. The second big pillar is capability, and the first thing is people. Obviously, when you completely transform a culture, and you may remember the old Microsoft, which was about Windows is the air we breathe, to today we are customer obsessed, and it's really about empowering every organization on the planet to achieve more, we have to adjust the people. And so the first thing we've done is that we made sure that we rescreen for talent. And I also mentioned the fact that we need to have new profile of talents in CMO, for the CMO, people who can also bring the art and the science. So I have to change the people I'm recruiting. I have people who are fully creative. I also have data scientists in my team. So making sure that I screen for a new type of talent, while also recruiting people from my customer environment so that they have the speak. So I've recruited people from the financial industry, so that they know when to engage the customer without disruption, back to this expectation that my customer has today to be uninterrupted, and we can speak their language just like if they are a consumer. A very big element also based on our culture about the growth mindset is making sure that we empower learners. And I can tell you, with everybody working from home, this is not only about us. I can see that everywhere, everybody is trying to make up for the time and leveraging this time at home to also learn more. So how do we make sure we make the time in our super busy agenda to give the ability to our teams to learn? And in my team, for example, we have specific curriculum for marketing. We also have a dedicated person that is thinking about these moments where we need to regroup to make sure that we continue to learn the technology, the environment, the compete, the customers, and making that at the center of the way we behave. And last but not least, and that's probably very, very present in all your mind, is making sure that we create the conditions for very strong collaboration. And in these days where we are, again, most of us still stuck at home, how do we stay productive while we're working remote? And these are actually pictures of my team, so maybe I should have a big disclaimer. The first one is we are using technology to make sure that we continue to meet, and this was a diversity game that we were having, so all of us with pictures of our flags behind us, and making sure that we continue to collaborate through meetings, making sure that we are able to develop plans. And so this was a meeting, to be fully transparent, developing our planning, where we were kicking off in the meeting over the phone, and then developing documents, collaborating on documents together, and making sure that we continue that deep interaction and proximity together. We also make sure that we use technology to engage the team with intentional time together that is not only related to business. So we have some virtual coffee chat. And we also want to make sure that we're leveraging the power of technology to enable people to engage in their own terms. So I think this is important to keep in mind. And we really put the mental health of our people on the equal footing as their contribution so that we all stay productive in these very difficult times. From a capability point of view, people are obviously the first element and at the core of everything we do. But the way we rethought our organization to serve the challenge I mentioned before is also very important. And one of the challenges we were facing was the fragmentation of the way we were serving our marketing. And so we made the decisions a couple of years ago to regroup our global advertising. I think that makes total sense, to make sure that we really appear at one voice and we don't dilute our brand attributes by having multiple products. Yes, we were there at some point, multiple products having their own messaging, etc. But also regrouping into one infrastructure driven by our global marketing for demand generation. And you may say, that is a little bit more controversial. And it's true that at that time, I was myself in Asia, so probably less close than this worldwide imperative. And I need to say I was absolutely supportive. And you will see in the dependency for technology, it is very hard to really develop an understanding of your customer journey if you only gather data on the journey in your own small country. You can unleash the power of technology if you really have a 360 view of all the interactions that the customer is having with your company. And by developing this global demand center, we are now able to have a one single ID that we attribute to our contacts. We know we can obviously on their consent. We are super compliant and we want to protect the privacy and respect the decision of our customers there. But we can tell what is the interaction, where they are in their journey, how many contacts we have in each company. And we're really able to derive predictive, and I'm going to talk about how we shifted from being able to predict the future to really being more prescriptive on how we move forward in our marketing. And that has been a critical path for us to really embrace modern marketing. At the same time, in the US, and I told you I'm driving all the business-to-business marketing for Microsoft in the US, I continue to drive the last mile and the nurturing of my customers, whether through local account-based marketing or the industry and the audience messaging. As you can imagine, engaging manufacturing in Germany will be very different than engaging manufacturing in the US, so that's why we keep the ownership and the mastery in country. All obviously that relates to local customer experience. And in this age of digital experience, we still think that there is a place for local execution where you continue to moderate and develop proximity with your customers with local moderation, even if you can leverage snackables, especially in the US, it's English speaking, so it's easier for us to deliver that. But we still want to drive that proximity and that empathy with our customers, and that will be driven by local. And obviously, all the intelligence we continue to drive locally, deriving and anchoring all our analysis on the data that is both coming from the worldwide repository and our local data. And that leads me to the technology. And I always say technology is just a mean to an end, just like data. Don't buy technology for the sake of technology. Make sure that you put that at the service of what you need to do. And I'm going away from my little tale of three here with the 5 big pillars, which I'm sure won't be a surprise for you. And the 5 things that I'm really trying to do is, 1, making sure that I deeply know and understand my customers. That's the only way to drive that proximity and that consumer-like experience that I've mentioned at the beginning. Making sure as well I understand where they are in the journey. Aren't you frustrated and irritated when you continue to receive push for something that you've already bought? So we need to make sure that we combine not only marketing intelligence, but also sales intelligence to really understand how to drive the customer to the next step in their journey. And sometimes it's going into developing their lifetime value because they passed the purchase moment. And all the next three, I think I would be more traditional. So making sure that we are super on top of where we are investing the dollars and the performance of the assets we are putting out there, making sure that we are optimizing the performance by being very agile, especially with our digital assets. The beauty is that we can measure everything on digital, and making sure that we are also using A/B testing to understand what would be the best creative, where do we get the best engagement, and also not one by one, but the mutual interaction of all these assets and how do they interact together, and I'll come to that in a moment. And obviously, last but not least, how we measure our impact and how we derive the correlation from all the marketing engagement and the business growth that I'm sure just like me, you get pressure from your leadership or your boards to drive. So for the last 5 minutes before I open for Q&A, I wanted to very quickly share with you 3 examples of how we bring all that I've mentioned to life. And the first one is around social engagement. And as I've mentioned, especially in these days, it's always true, but especially in these days, the customers, they first want to be listened and supported rather than being sold to. And so what we have developed, and obviously it is at the scale of Microsoft, but I am convinced a number of you can probably do that no matter the size of your company, is making sure that you have your system to listen to the social chatter out there. So we're using technology, obviously, to make sure that we identify trends, mention volume, complete conversation. What are the key themes that are top of mind for our customers? This is also how we were able to very quickly readjust all our messaging, listening to the chatter from our customers. Making sure that we also understand the relative brand sentiment between us and our competition and what are the potential negative drivers. And as importantly, introduce ourselves in the conversation. So the way it works is that we have technology where we have some keywords that are surfacing conversation, triaging this conversation to a number of community moderators that will then, whether proactively engage, sometimes creatively engage, producing, snippets or even graphics to engage proactively in the conversation, sometimes also enhancing and amplifying advocacy from customers, and making sure that we stay current in this very, very noisy environment, and probably even more noisy as all the eyeballs are stuck on digital assets these days. The second example I wanted to share with you is how do we really integrate all the insights we're gaining from marketing into our sales journey, and we integrate with our sellers. And so the way we're doing this is we're making sure that on the same console that our sellers are using for the day-to-day management, so all their sales console, we make sure that we feed the information on the engagement of their customers with marketing. And so they will be able to know in the same console, so they don't have to go to any different tools, who are the contacts that are engaged, what were they engaged on, were they engaged on a product that is not in the opportunity list they have? Do you have multiple people from a group they are not aware of that are just checking on a solution that they are trying to sell to another group in the same company? So making sure that not only they had that visibility, but we're going one notch up. We are also, through artificial intelligence, we are actually scoring these interactions to prioritize the work of our sellers. We've been testing that with our inside sales for 2 years, 3 years now. And I would say at the beginning, we were probably 30% true, but now we have 80% accuracy in the prioritization, which is greatly improving the productivity of our sellers. And so as you can see here, as these examples, not only they see by account, where is the highest level of interest depending on the solution area. If they have a portfolio, they have that heat map of accounts, which accounts are super engaged or lesser engaged, and how does this compare to the pipeline position they have for sellers? And last but not least, how do we correlate the engagement with the revenue and growth so that they can make the right decision on which account to push? And the last example I wanted to share with you is indeed how we shift from data to insight. I told you that we need to evolve the profile, and that's what I've observed, the profile of the marketing folks, so that they all embrace the power of data. And I think what we have today at our disposal is the ability to move from static marketing metrics in terms of how many people attend my events, how many touch points and views do I have on my web page, what's the lead or contacts that I'm getting from my assets out there, to really how do I predict based on past behavior the interaction with a number of assets to the behavior and impact we will get with the customer. And what I like very much about what we are doing is we are shifting from single touch attribution to multi-touch attribution, making sure, as I was mentioning before, that we are looking at how we are including all the views of our touch points with the customers. And obviously that gives us pattern matching, which allows us to be very prescriptive, and we are, I think, an inch from being able to really drive the customer to the next level and really guide our marketeers on what's the next asset to develop. And I wanted to conclude, and these are some of the metrics. And so to wrap up, I wanted to share 5 things that I think we learn about transforming marketing, including in these very specific times. Strong culture will help you navigate crisis. Start with your team. They are at the core of everything you will deliver. Don't forget to start with listening. In marketing, we're very prone to speak, but how do we make sure that we listen first and adjust the journeys? Data and technology will always be a mean to an end and not the end game. The end game is really customer delight and lifetime value. And don't forget, start with you, take care, and have fun in the process. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vicky.
For that insightful. Thank you. Another reminder to the audience, you can enter questions by clicking the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen. And we're going to review some of the questions that were submitted by the audience during this discussion. And the first question I'm going to go to is from attendee, what are you using for AI to track sellers?
So what we are doing with AI is that we are applying AI to all the data that relates to the engagement that our customers are having with our customers. And so all this AI allows us to identify patterns and correlation to accelerated growth, accelerated consumption. And so that allows us to prioritize the insight that we are going to present to sellers. So what we are making sure is that we are not giving the raw data to sellers, because it's very hard for a seller to make sense of all the data points that we have and all the engagement that we have with marketing. And so we are making sure that we are adding this layer of artificial intelligence on this data to, again, simplify and prioritize what are the insights that will be helpful for the sellers to drive the next conversation.
Thank you so much. And we have time for one more question if we take it quickly. What was or is the biggest challenge in terms of sales enablement, and how did you overcome it?
Well, I think the first challenge was really to educate the sellers on the value of marketing. And, you know, there is a healthy tension as always. Like, you know, sellers will say, marketing doesn't help me at all. And marketing will say, well, sellers don't catch my leads. So there is that healthy tension that we continue to have to solve for. And I think it's been a journey. I don't want to say, hey, it happened in one day and we were so successful, we have completely cracked the nut here. But I think by proving that the leads and the insights and the engagement we were driving on each contact were actually opening new doors was really the way to go. And I have a very recent example. There was an account in New York City that one of my sellers, they couldn't go through. They were saying, well, it's a complete shop. There is no way to go through that. And so we said, well, look at the marketing intelligence we're having, because actually there are some groups in this big customer which are looking at some of our solutions, and it seems that there are a number of them. And so the seller looked at this marketing insight and they were like, I don't even know this group. I don't even know these people who've been going through gated content. And so they reached out to these people who were interacting with our content. And actually there was an opportunity. And I think all these little wins becomes streams, becomes a river. And that's also how you get word of the mouth beyond all the education that you can do that are really driving this integration between sales and marketing and that success.
Thank you so much, Valerie, for that wonderful answer for that question. I wanted to thank everyone for joining us today for this wonderful session. And Valerie's thought leadership presentation, along with all of today's sessions, will be available on demand for the following week. Our next session, which will begin shortly at 11:45 a.m. Eastern Time, is a panel discussion titled The Art and Science of Effective Marketing, and your browser will automatically redirect you to that next session. We look forward to seeing you there, and thank you again, Valerie Beaulieu, CMO, Microsoft.
Thank you, Vicki Lynn.